A tragedy occurred in Nassau yesterday, and now those of you at home are asking, is the Bahamas even safe? I want to preface this video because JJ Cruise is not a place that you would typically find us reporting on things like passenger death, crew death. It's just not something that we talk about. There's other YouTube channels out there that report on those types of things. And before I talk about the story and answering the big question, is Nassau Bahamas no longer safe? I do just want to say to the cruise passenger that lost their life this week, we are so sorry to the family. We are thinking about you. We are praying for you. And this video is not about that. This video is to answer a very key question that we've gotten over and over and over again over the past 24 hours. Before we get into talking about this and discussing the safety in Nassau Bahamas, if you haven't yet subscribed, I do just want to invite you to subscribe. Hit that red button. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. So the question on the table today is, has Nassau Bahamas become unsafe? Nassau is, of course, one of the largest cruise ports in the world, bringing in tens of thousands of cruise passengers every single week. If you're going on an Eastern Caribbean cruise, one of the most popular cruise routes in the world, there is a likely chance that your ship will stop at Nassau, Bahamas. It's almost become the gateway into the rest of the Caribbean. Now, if you have not been to Nassau, they did recently undergo a $160 million port renovation. We were just there on Sunday, and I actually think that this ties into the question that we've been getting quite a lot. So I'm going to share my opinion about that new port and how I think it ties into the safety in the port of Nassau. But let's talk about what happened in Nassau yesterday. Unfortunately, an excursion boat heading to the Blue Lagoon, a very popular destination in Nassau, did sink on its way to the actual island. Blue Lagoon is a beautiful beach that offers things like swimming with dolphins, swimming with other sea creatures, and a number of different types of excursions. And it is one of the more popular destinations that cruise tourists do find themselves heading to. You do have to take a small boat to get there, and while the boat was en route yesterday, it encountered some large waves. The boat started taking on water, and unfortunately, the boat did sink. Allegedly, there was another boat there within minutes that was helping take passengers off and onto a new boat. There was some videos shared on social media where you could see passengers jumping off of the boat and into the water, and it did look like everyone was fit with a life vest. As I previously mentioned, out of that incident, there was a 75-year-old cruise passenger that did pass away. We saw this yesterday. Our hearts sank because any type of accident or tragedy anywhere around the world is obviously very sad. What surprised me, though, was the number of emails and Instagram messages that we started to get late last night. A lot of you back home are reaching out to those of us in the industry and just saying, look, I'm heading to Nassau next week or for Christmas or shortly after in the new year, and I want to know, is it safe? Should I stay on the ship? Some of you are asking, should I cancel my cruise? Because of recent events, you just don't feel like Nassau is a safe place to travel to anymore. Look, you don't have to go very far on the internet to see a lot of news articles, travel warnings, information about gang violence within the Bahamas. That being said, you can find that type of information about most destinations that you are going to and most islands in the Caribbean. I want to separate what happened this week in Nassau with that boat sinking and the rest of safety in terms of Nassau. And I'm talking like physical safety while walking around the island. Accidents happen. They are tragic, and that is no question. Things like shark attacks, boat sinking, those things happen, and they will continue to happen all around the world. Also, Nassau's not the only place where accidents happen. Many of you have gone to Alaska. Alaska is one of the most beautiful places in the world and has become one of the most popular destinations for cruise travelers. We also hear often in the news about helicopter and small plane crashes in Alaska. And for that reason, some of you have said to us, I will never take one of those excursions in Alaska because we've heard about so many in the media. Accidents on any scale, small or large, happen every day all over the world, regardless of the location. As a smart traveler, you can and you should always be looking up independent shore excursion companies that you're booking. Look up their track record. See if they're notorious for having accidents or issues or problems. Read reviews. Jared and I use apps like TripAdvisor and Viator to go on and see what other people have said. Google reviews is another place. If you just Google where you're going or the destination that you're going to, read reviews about those excursion companies to know if you are traveling or going with a safe excursion company. I want to say this again. No matter how safe the excursion company, an accident or an issue could always arise. Let's talk about the other kind of bucket of safety, and that's violence and things like physical safety when walking around the island. When you step out your door and you go anywhere, including the grocery store, the airport, a train station, or a tropical destination like the Bahamas or Mexico, you're putting yourself around strangers. Sometimes the groups of strangers that you find yourself in might not be good strangers. They might be bad strangers. And for that, it is always wise to be alert and smart. When walking around Nassau, Bahamas, I typically would not have just my wallet or my cell phone in an open pocket. But I also don't do this when I'm walking around in New York City or Chicago or any other place that I find myself surrounded in close quarters with a lot of people. Something else that I would never do in destinations where I travel is walk around openly and very aloofly with my cell phone, just holding it, playing a game, and not paying attention to anything around me. That, of course, can cause your phone to be stolen. It can cause you to possibly get hit by a car if you walk into a street and you're not paying attention. There are just practical things that you can be doing when you are in destinations to heighten your alerts and make yourself feel more comfortable and safe in your surroundings. I say all of that because those are things that I do regardless of where I travel. It doesn't matter if I'm in the Indianapolis airport or if I'm in Cozumel, Mexico. I've got those spidey senses up and I'm looking and thinking about who is around me and who could potentially be watching me. I'm going to make the case for Nassau in terms of physical safety that it is now actually one of the safest ports in the Caribbean, and here's why. Nassau recently invested in this $160 million renovation of their port, and we actually just got to see this when we were there on Sunday. The port is incredible and beautiful, and guess what? Surrounded by large gates. You can get off in Nassau and now eat, drink, shop, and even hear live music without ever physically going into the town. The area where you now meet your ship appointed excursions is also within this area. So when you're lining up on the ship, headed to your excursions, you're not going to go outside of the gates. You're going to pick up your bus within the gates. If you want to get the Bahama culture and see the Bahamas, you don't have to go that far. That being said, the actual physical town of Nassau, Jared and I have never had any issues in with safety. We have walked outside of those gates. We have gotten food. We have gotten drinks. We have gone down to Junkanoo Beach. We have walked to resorts like Margaritaville. We have never felt unsafe. And I know what some of you are thinking, but Jordan, you are two tall men. Yes, I understand that. As a tall man, though, I still have gotten my wallet stolen in another place outside of the Caribbean, not while on a cruise. So just because I'm tall and maybe a little bit more intimidating looking doesn't mean that I am exempt from crime. Jared and I are also a same-sex couple, and in some parts of the world, we are targets for people. And that is something else that a lot of people don't have to think about, but for us, we, again, read about the place that we're going, and our senses are always heightened, thinking about if we're safe, if this feels good, if this feels right. In terms of your upcoming trip to the Bahamas, I don't think that what happened this week should deter you from going. Now, whether or not you decide to go to the Blue Lagoon is completely up to you. However, in terms of getting off the ship in Nassau, I don't feel like it is an unsafe place to be. Be alert, be smart, Don't have your money and your wallet kind of being waved around, and definitely don't go into stores making large purchases and then walk out of the store just holding that purchase in your hand. And at the end of the day, if traveling to Nassau or getting off in Nassau isn't your thing, or you don't feel like it's safe, just stay on the ship. There are a million reasons why I love a day at port on the ship. Often the ship is completely empty. You get the best service. You get lots of pool time. You get those bartenders that are just constantly bringing you drinks. You can have a fabulous time on the ship without ever getting into the port. I personally felt completely safe walking around Nassau this past Sunday, but you have to ask yourself the question, is it right for you in this moment? And if it's not, stay on the ship. If it is, enjoy your time in Nassau. Some of the people there on the island are the most friendly people that we've ever encountered, and we actually always love getting off and grabbing some food and a couple of drinks in that town. Well, that was it for today. Let me know in the comments. Have you been to Nassau recently? Do you feel safe? Do you feel like it's an okay place to be? Is it just not your favorite destination because you've been there so many times? Give me your opinion of Nassau in the comments. And like always, don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, see ya.